We are back, boys and girls. We are back, and yes, it is Kaiser time. It is Kaiser time. We're a couple minutes late, maybe one or two. Not entirely sure. I don't think it really matters, because the people who tune into this show are freaks and geeks. And why? Because your boy, the Kaiser, Jeremiah Bannister, the Paleocrat. Because this show is high octane, that's why. Because we are the HQ, the headquarters of the Glad Track. We're living through crazy bad times. Crazy bad times, aren't we? Everybody's boo-hooing or howling and angry, huffing and puffing, going around, all sorts of tangled up. Not us. Not us. And why? Because we resolve deep down inside to never give up, to keep on smiling, and remember, we're gonna die. Why would we do that? What's the purpose of that? Because if we keep those things in mind, we're gonna dream bigger thoughts. We're gonna give it everything we've got. We are going to resolve to dedicate every single thought, word, and deed to Christ the King. And why is that? Because, simple reason, 2,000 years ago he rose from the grave and he ascended into heaven. He is seated at the right hand of the Father, and right now all power and authority is his. And we are his kids. Come on! Ow! You gotta be pumped, kids. You gotta be rocking out. Rocking out. Because we cannot hide under the bushel. Oh no. We cannot do it no more. The world needs you. You were created with gifts and talents, and everybody in the world would be very grateful, in fact, if you used them. If you used them, dedicating all of it, everything you got, 24/7, realizing you were put here for a purpose. So was I. So are we. And the we is what we're talking about. Moving forward, if you put your ear to the ground, do you hear it? It's the marching of the wolf pack, and it's the sound of Catholic revival. We're bringing back civilization, kids. We are bringing it back. And we're doing it with a smile on our face. We're doing it with a smile on our face because, honest to goodness, aren't you just sick and tired of the nonsense and the sadness and the madness all around you? And doesn't it seem that the people who have it the worst, doesn't matter. They're on the left, they're on the right. It seems like that they're constantly pushing it further. They just can't quit. And I hate breaking it down to that dialectic. I hate that. It's a stupid dialectic, right? You know what I mean? The people who are constantly wanting to change and morph everything to use the church like silly putty, like clay in their hands, manipulating it, making it say and do whatever they would like to make it say and do. And on the other side, people who are constantly calling into question the magisterium of the church. People who are constantly, every day, waking up, and it's almost like they woke up and God gave them a mission. God distributed the gifts and talents among all of his people, and he said, unto you I am going to give a very cantankerous spirit. I'm going to give that, and you're going to be really good at posting a bunch of trash at people you don't know on Twitter regularly. Yeah. Seems like that's the way it works. Seems like that's the way people are rolling. Not here. Not here. We are taking an entirely different approach. And what's the approach? What's the approach we're taking? Well, you can learn more about that. And I need to... Is my family watching right now? Where's my coffee? I did that intro, and I didn't even have coffee. I didn't even have coffee, but I need some. Yo, baby cakes! Your boy needs some coffee. I think my kids are already asleep. They should be, and if they aren't, my boys should hear me. Yeah. My boys, I'm proud of them, by the way. Proud of them. Oh, yeah. Didn't button up my shirt all right. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to brag up my chest hair. Not trying to do that. Sorry, kiddos. So anyway, I need some coffee for real. This is going to be one of those situations where I'm going to have to put on some kind of a promo. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that just so that I can get some coffee. I don't see my wife's not in the chat. She's killing me. Absolutely killing me. I'm going to do, this is an old technique, okay? This is an old technique that's done by DJs. So anyone who's worked in radio knows what this is. In radio, you would normally put on like Freebird, right? Or Stairway to Heaven or something. Something really, really, really long. You put that song on, And that gives you enough time. You got to go and use the bathroom. And if it, it depends on where, what kind of thing you're going to be doing in there, that you might need an even longer song. Thank the Lord for, playlists and stuff like that. Because now they have like poo-poo playlists. I think it's a real thing. I'm pretty sure it is. But we're going to do that right now. We're going to do it right now because my kids, nobody's listening. I'll make it a little bit longer of one. And that way, I'll make it a little bit longer. Right, of a promo. Which one do I want to do? I'm still going to stick with Sacred Heart because that's why we do what we do. That is why we do what we do. I'm going to go ahead and do it here over at Sacred Heart. And we're going to have to take care of business because I need coffee. I need something, man. I need something over here. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, a lot of talking about counterfeit revival as opposed to straight up legit revival. As in meaning, us, because we are in fact that revival. We are that revival. So we're going to go ahead and play this. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. I will have my drink, and we are going to enter the octagon of human history, talking about crazy, different enthusiasms and everything else. So make sure to grab your coffee at this time of night, your beer, your hard drink, or your daiquiri. I don't care. Whatever it is, go grab that. Grab your straw. We'll be back here in 90 seconds with more of the Thursday, February 9th edition of Paleocrat Diaries.
You see me in my uniform, and you think I'm going to school.
You think I'm studying, doing my homework, practicing my Latin.
You're not completely wrong. The truth is this. What looks like an academy is in fact where I am learning to dig deep.
To search with an attentive heart what all men seek, but few can name.
Wisdom, knowledge, it's the fountain of life and holiness. A sacred temple, the very house of God and gate of heaven.
What I seek, what I have learned to desire, is the desire of the everlasting hills. I am looking to lose myself in the sacred heart of Jesus.
It may look like I'm going to school, but in truth, I am learning to chase after my Savior, the King and center of all hearts.
And I will not rest
until I take hold of him,
who has already taken hold of me.
We will find. I want you to believe it. I'm so sick and tired of approaching every day like we're not going to own this. Like Christ doesn't have it under control. I'm so sick of it. We are children of the King. He is the King of Kings right now, of the universe right now. And that what you're seeing right there, that's the future. You better believe it right now. Believe it. Look at the people in your life and ask yourself, what are you giving? What are you willing to do to make it real? Because that right there, that's what I'm willing to do. That's what I'm willing to do. And you gotta rock out with me. You gotta rock out with me. Because, because it is the Paleocrat Diaries alert system. That's what that is, notifying everybody, north, south, east, and west, all across the world, all the freaks and geeks, letting them know that your boy, the Kaiser, is on the air, and we are entering the octagon. We are entering the octagon talking about counterfeit revival, looking for God in all the wrong places. Talking about the early days today, about Azusa Street. Talking about some of the early individuals, including Branham, who had this weird glow apparently, or so he claimed. Apparently he was like, Green Lantern. He had a green glow when crazy stuff was happening, and that's when he knew to attack. That's when he knew. But now that we're doing this, now you are going to know. You are going to know how to approach people who believe these things. And you're going to be able to speak to them, to draw them out of that and into a legitimate understanding of the Trinity, and a legitimate understanding of health, of prosperity, of faith, of the power of their words, of what it really means to have life and death in the tongue. What does it mean? And what does it mean to anticipate and expect and cry out for an outpouring of the Holy Spirit in really bad times? What does it look like to have order? What does it look like? You're going to be able to say what these things are. You are going to have that good news for a world that terribly, terribly needs it. They need you, and God knew it. And that's why He made you. That's why He made me. And that's why He made us. And we are together right now in a powerful way. And if you want to be a part of that group of people that are marching forward every single day, resolving deep inside every thought, word, and deed in conformity to the visible church, right? The divine constitution of this visible church. If you are one of those and you want to be part of that, and you're excited, you're pumped up about the energy, you're pumped up about the optimism, the sense of purpose that says, I'm marching forward. And I believe that there is good on the other end of this, because God blesses those who do what He says to do, going out and making disciples and such. If you're down with that, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and go over to the Wolfpack at t.me/the Wolfpack chat. And thank you to everybody, including Rachel Wilson. Rachel Wilson, during that, she was blasting away at the saxophone. Enslaved by Truth, he's got the satellite. Where? Oh, hold on. I got to get these up here. Where is it? Oh, hold on. Oh, let me get this off. So if I go back to the main stage, I won't have a bunch of music and everything popping up. I don't want that, because that happens sometimes. Let me go to main stage. There we go. See, I told you. We're doing main stage now. Okay? So I'm going to bring up some of these. Not every time, but frequent enough. Okay. In the comments section, real quick, let's just go through this real fast. Okay? If you're watching this and you're not just listening, okay, and you're watching this, and you were one of those who was tremendously impressed by the fact that, as I said, I came back not only with an amazing cup, right, a huge mug of coffee with a blue straw. Not only that, but I came back with this. I came back with some Kentucky Bourbon Stout. That's what I came back with, 12%. 12% Founders Kentucky Bourbon Stout. It's so good. Anyway, all right. So if you're one of those, you can see on the screen here, you can see that people are posting some weird junk. You can ignore Phil Gonzalez. Anybody who's part of the Wolfpack knows who Phil Gonzalez is. He's a good buddy, man. We love the guy. All right. So yeah, candle. Oh yeah, look at that, candle and a cross from Light ZZZ10. Blasting the siren. So you've got all different kinds of emojis. It's one of the things, that you hear people in different comment sections of live streams. They're like, what are all these wolves about? What is this? What is that? Who's the Kaiser? Who is the Kaiser? Isn't it? It's already starting to percolate, isn't it? Starting to bubble up to the bigwigs. Hey, they're learning. They're figuring it out, right? And they can't help it. If it's just me stomping my feet, doing my thing, that's not a big deal. But if it's a whole bunch of us doing that, all of a sudden, man, you got the ground trembling. And you can hear the laughter from miles away. Including the laughter I had when I found the cream of tartar on my door. Somebody in the Wolfpack sent cream of tartar to my door. And interestingly enough, you know what? Actually, now come to think of it, my wife, my mega hot half Korean beauty queen wife, lovesick me, may have deceived me. We were talking about, how did that cream of tartar get it on the front porch? Who put that there? we're trying to figure it out. We knew it came from the Wolfpack. It's an inside joke. We're in the chat and stuff. And so we knew it was that. And she said, I'll check and see. We have security. We have huge maximum security at Castle Paleocrat. So she's going through, looking at all the camera footage all over the place. And she says, I don't know. Nothing popped up. And I don't know what I was doing. I must have been, kind of distracted. Maybe by her beauty. Distracted. And I thought about it and said, no, that's fake. That's fake. Angela, you're busted. I am going to find out who it was. Right? But we're laughing over there. So, okay. Very grateful. If you want to comment to me today if you want to do that, you're going to have to, draft frames. I wonder if that draft frame. You're going to have to do that over at, do the @ symbol, the meaning of Catholic. Okay, so today it is at the meaning of Catholic. If you do at Paleocrat, I don't know if somebody wants to go ahead and pop that up there. I don't know if that's going to show exactly like how, I don't know if it's going to show up on my screen, on my end, because you can see here at the bottom, you got Phil Gonzalez. He says, thanks, enslaved by truth. And so with that, it's not lit up. But if somebody were to mention the meaning of Catholic, it would show up, I believe, in a big orange rectangle, right? It highlighted. It highlighted in orange. And so I will know. So if at any point, oh, there you go. Yeah, the meaning of Catholic, ignore me. I already lost the game, dude. I already lost the game. And everyone who thought in their head, that, is he playing the game? Yeah, I am. And you lost. So, okay, we're moving on. I could talk to you guys forever. And we do. You got to make sure, go over in the description below. You can find all the information about our Patreon and about the awesome community of people that are connected over there. And especially over on Telegram, where we get together and have our good time, and where my kids are going to be joining us, my wife and I, for weekly family prayers. We're going to have it on the prayer chain. It may be, we'll figure it out. We got it coming, but it's going to happen. We've been talking a lot about what we plan to do as a family. We got some really cool ideas, so you're gonna love it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And yes, prepping for heaven, Paleocrat. Hello, Paleocrat does not show up. It is not what Paleocrat does. Paleocrat's always showing up. It may be a little late, but showing up nonetheless. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this. There we go. Why is it up so high? Why is it up so high all of a sudden? I'm like, Ugh. Yeah, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. Get out of there. We have to go back. We got to go back to we're going back to the intro. There we are. Okay, we're back at the intro. Different kind of screens. We ended last time talking about, let me get to the right page. And I got to crack this open while I talk here. Sorry about that. Sorry for a little bit of the confusion. Sorry for being a little bit, not all together here. I've heard rumor I'm a little bit unstable. I've heard rumor I'm a little bit strange. What do you think? Do you agree with them? Do you agree with the haters? Are you one yourself? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Or at PaleocratDiaries@gmail.com. Founders, you make a good beer. You make a really good beer. I am honored to live in Grand Rapids, where Founders also resides. All right. We were talking about the leading up to Azusa. What happened at Azusa Street? How many of you, by the way, how many of you watching right now used to be Pentecostal Protestants, right? As Protestants, when you, let's say, or you are right now. Are you currently Pentecostal-Charismatic? And let's just put it that way. Are you Pentecostal-Charismatic? Are you? Are you Pentecostal-Charismatic as a Catholic? Are you Pentecostal-Charismatic as a Protestant? What are you? So we were talking, and what do you believe about Azusa Street? What do you think? When you talk about your experience, I'm talking to Pentecostal Charismatics, when you talk about your experience with other people, and you talk about your more eccentric practices, right? And you're talking about tongues, and people go, it's kind of weird. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Do you go back to Azusa? Is that like a major landmark for you? And are you unsettled? How do you deal, and not just with Azusa, but now, how do you deal with the internal squabbles with people over certain just blatantly heretical things, like a rejection of the Trinity, for example? Because Azusa Street, you had it. Azusa Street, you had it. I mean, you had, among so many, it wasn't just that, well, it's like a bad apple, like, oh, he did a bad thing, or, oh, that's a weird kind of belief. I get that. But that somebody believes something that's just like brazenly heretical. Like not a little bit, but lots of. I do want to say, in fairness, that I want people to note that as we go through some of these names, and you should have recognized this even during the series on snake handling, right? The videos we did on snake handling. that there may be a time, and you'll have a lot of people in any given denomination that experiences the charismatic gifts, that sort of thing, that a lot of people in that denomination may, in fact, be down with it. You will likely have key people in the leadership who also happen to like it. Right? And you will have people who oppose it. Especially the extreme nature. Even the people who support the charismatic gifts may find that they say, look, I'm charismatic, I speak in tongues, I do all this, but I definitely oppose Benny Hinn, or I oppose this and that, or I oppose this particular doctrine, or I definitely don't stand for people saying that they don't believe in the Trinity. But how do you grapple with that? I just want to know your personal opinion. I'm not here to debate that. Okay, I have my take on that, obviously. I have my take on it, but I'm interested to hear what yours happens to be. What role does Azusa Street play for you when you think about charismatic Pentecostal history? And how do you deal even now? But how do you deal with Azusa, and how do you deal even now with the differences that often pop up over matters, especially for Catholics? And that may be more for the charismatic Catholics. When you deal with people and groups and movements of people who they don't just disagree over, let's say the Pope, where they say, well, I don't believe that, Mary was ever virgin. They're talking like Trinity stuff. It's all dogma. I mean, they're getting down to the origin, the source. You have this historian, right? You have this historian, Pentecostal historian, Vincent Synan, okay? Vincent Synan describes the apostle of Azusa Street, a man by the name of William Seymour, as, quote, a short, stocky man minus one eye. A, quote, poverty-stricken southern black guy starts. It's a word. It's a variant of an N word that's acceptable, but not from dudes that look like me on YouTube. I'm not gonna go there. It's a quote. It's an exact quote, but I'm not gonna use it. And it's the more acceptable variant, by the way. It's the more acceptable variant. If I was talking about colleges, it might be an entirely different thing. College funds and stuff like that. Ugh. But he had little or no knowledge of religious history. Now, that's the historian admitting that. Because of his ethnic status, Seymour was not permitted to sit in Parham's class. Now, this is an interesting thing, by the way. So you have Parham, right? We talked about him in Kansas. He's praying. He's praying over the gal. The individual starts speaking in tongues. Right? Supposedly Chinese. That was the claim. He's not even allowed in the class. So he has to sit out in the hallway. Dude's listening through the doors. You must admit, this is some dedication. It is. I know people who, when they talk about charismatics or they talk about Pentecostals, they chalk it up as just purely making, like, that it's fake. Or that they're just making it up. It's like intentionally just making up. There are people who go through enormous amounts of difficulties, even suffering, even dying for what their claims are, dying on the mission field, going and doing that sort of thing. I won't do that. And especially, so I won't dehumanize a person's experiences or reasons for why they believe certain things. But I will say, that just because, you can be really determined and also, a determined criminal, a determined heretic. You're really determined, man. You're really determined in your being a heresiarch. You know what I mean? You're taking it real serious. He was taking it seriously. While Seymour roundly rejected Parham's teaching that Anglo-Saxons were God's chosen race, so here we are again. We're back to the chosen, especially, Europe. But if you really talk to them, they're talking America. They're talking America. Seymour was so convinced. Sorry about that. He was so opposed to that, but he accepted. It didn't affect his view on Parham's theology of tongues. He told his parishioners of his Los Angeles Holiness Church that tongues, not sanctification, was evidence of the baptism in the Holy Ghost. Have any of you ever been in a church where that happened? Somebody rolls up in there and throws down a hammer. Have you? What's the craziest hammer any pastor's ever thrown down? Either when you've been there or that you've seen on TV. I mean, obviously you've got admissions of infidelity, things like that. Situations that you see pop off, getting busted. You got the audio coming through of his wife whispering in his ear the names of people that he's pretending to prophetically point out and identify. Was there ever anything, did you ever have anybody walk out? Like people, did you ever have a pastor walk out? Let me know in the comments. People were real mad about this. Mrs. Hutchinson, the pastor who had invited Seymour to preach in her church, was so mad, in fact, that she, quote, padlocked the church door the next night to keep Seymour out. So she didn't just say, hey, Seymour, you're not welcome back. She's like, no, I'm padlocking this thing. She's out there. She's all grunting. You know, she's grunting and grumbling, sounding like, you know, kind of a really angry, feminine. Wait, what was his name from Looney Tunes, right? Always sitting there grumbling under his breath. What's that guy's name? It's gonna kill me. Rootin' Tootin' guy. She's gonna sound like him. Oh man, that's gonna kill me. I can't believe. How did I forget this guy's name? This cartoon character. I'm on the spot. I know so many characters that it's actually selection paralysis. Oh man. Yeah, so she locked dude out. She's like, she had it with him. He's all coming out. How much you want to bet? He walked up like, Yosemite Sam. Oh, I kept thinking Sam. I was like, but anyway, Yosemite Sam. Thank you very much, Enslaved by Truth. And Alex. Very, very happy about that. Oh, and integrated with Angela Erickson. Good to see you. If everybody missed Monday's show, you got to go check it out. She was on there. She should be on there every single week, in my opinion. My most humble opinion. It's true. Several days later, he and 7 devotees, quote, fell to the floor in a religious ecstasy, speaking with other tongues. In those 7 days, how frequently do you think that him and his buddies went to check in the middle of the night to see if maybe the door was unlocked? How often? I thought this was hilarious. It didn't take long. News, of course, spread like wildfire. News spread like wildfire. I don't think people are nearly as entertained nowadays. In a weird way, we're more easily entertained. But I think because we've been through this, it's not new anymore. At the time, you're like, oh, these people are speaking in tongues and falling all over the place. Grandpappy said he experienced it. Called it the fire. Said it was in his bosom. We got to go check it out. That's right. Uncle Alan said the same thing. Oh, yeah? Aunt Eliza told me that she felt drunk, staggering out of a church. Giggling and laughing like someone was tickling her. Said it was angels and such. Before long, curious onlookers beheld such sights as Jenny Moore, Seymour's future wife, singing in what was at the time believed to be the Hebrew language. I like the at the time. In other words, it has since been declared and it's since understood that in fact was not Hebrew. At the moment, he's like, listen to the Hebrew. Listen to the Hebrew, my wife, future wife, is singing. She's crooning. Crooning in that Hebrew. What if that was like the moment, The moment where the two of them, she's crooning in, fake Hebrew or whatever he thought. And he's sitting there listening and he's thinking it's this magical moment and he has all this spiritual significance, and come to find out later, it's not even Hebrew. Together they engaged in the jerks and in treeing the devil. That, man, I don't know, words sound different at different times, different meanings and stuff. People went from all over the country. And they went all over the country because on April 18th, 1906, subscribers to the Los Angeles Times were startled by the headline, quote, "Weird babble of tongues." The article proclaimed, quote, "New sect of fanatics is breaking loose. Wild scene last night on Azusa Street. Gurgle of wordless talk by a sister," end quote. Read more below. Think about that, by the way. We talk about modern times and saying that the media is against the Lord and such, and against the movings of God in any way, and they're anti-supernatural and everything. I mean, we are talking Azusa Street, though, in fairness. But new sect of fanatics is breaking loose. Just think, wild scene last night on Azusa Street. Gurgle of wordless talk. Gurgling. Gurgling words. And the visuals. Oh, the visuals. Together they engage. Yeah, we already talked about the jerks and treeing the devil. It wasn't long before, quote, "spiritualists and mediums from the numerous occult societies of Los Angeles began to attend and to contribute their seances and trances to the services." So, okay, in time, things got so out of hand that, quote, Seymour wrote Parham for advice on how to handle the spirits and begged him to come to Los Angeles to take over supervision of the revival. Problem was that Parham wanted nothing to do with it. He came up, dude rolls up. Okay, so you hear a word. You get the word, you get a letter and it says, "Hey, listen, I was one of your students. You know me, all right? We've had some issues. I'm a little black, That's an issue with you. You're white. That's not an issue with me. But, okay, those things aside, we're both tongue talkers. And we both believe in the outpouring of the Holy Spirit in the end times. I'm experiencing something a little bit along that lines right now in a place called Azusa Street. And we're having this crazy outpouring and people are coming from all over. But it has literally gone bonkers. People, you got seances. Seances happening. What the heck is going down? What's happening there at Azusa? Spiritualists rolling up in there. And what does he say? He was outraged. He was outraged at the pandemonium. He forcefully denounced the, quote, hypnotists and spiritualists who seem to have taken over the services. You got to wonder. Who's he talking about exactly? I got to go back and look at that. While Seymour was sympathetic to Parham's concerns, he refused the correction. And they had this massive falling out. The two of them, it got bad. And, it's weird how some of these movements, you end up having fallouts like that. Over racial issues, too. You had something along those lines happen with Bonson and Rushdoony. That was another one of those. Was Rushdoony disinvited or just simply not invited to Bonson's funeral? Because Bonson was married, I think, was Bonson married to a Korean lady? Was he one of those fortunate guys? Oh. Seymour barred Parham from ever preaching at Azusa Street again. Parham in turn said, "That's okay. I hear you. I see what you did there. Well, you know what? I'm going to say that you, Seymour, are possessed." That's why I'm wondering, was he saying that Seymour was a hypnotist and spiritualist that had taken over services? The historian we talked about earlier, Sinan, said, quote, "For the rest of his life, Parham continued his denunciation of the Azusa Street meetings as a case of spiritual power prostituted to the awful fits and spasms of the holy rollers and hypnotists." So you have major divisions. And yet, to be frank, I don't think that the stuff that we talked that happened at Azusa Street, it pales in comparison to stuff that we heard before in the Enthusiasm series. much of it. In other ways, though, it's like, Montanism. Imagine Montanism, that it spread around and everybody's like in the revelatory spirit thing, right? Todd Hunter, national coordinator of the Association of Vineyard Churches, believes that from, quote, Azusa Street to today, the Pentecostals have been the largest, most dynamic force of Christians on the earth, end quote. He goes on, he kind of talks up Azusa Street, and then he turns people's attention to the, quote, renewing influences of 3 Pentecostal healing evangelists, A. Allen, William Branham, and Jack Coe. We're going to talk about those. We are going to talk about those individuals. And again, if you want to connect with me, make sure, 2 ways to do it tonight at The Meaning of Catholic. If you're in the comments section after the video, at Paleocrat. That's the easiest way. So after the show, if you connect with me, you can do it at Paleocrat. It'll notify me on YouTube. Or Telegram, of course, link in description below. Or, of course, email, and that is also in the description below. But I'd love to hear your story. And if you used to be part of revivals like this and you would like to connect with me and talk about it, we're going to be having interviews. I've already lined up the scene for it. Already got it lined up. Figured it out. The Assemblies of God was horrified. Talking about let's start here. We'll start where Hank Hanegraaff started. Asa Alonzo Allen. 1911 to 1970. The Assemblies of God was horrified by the antics of A. Allen, whose dogmatic and undocumented claims included the deception that he could raise people from the dead. He's not the only bugger to do that. He ain't the only guy. There's other folks. Wait, I always forget homeboy's name. Apostle Taylor. Apostle Taylor, that dude, he's talking about raising people from the dead. They won't do cameras, though. I don't know, would they do it in this thing where he's going to proclaim it from the church? I could put a camera, man. We live where there's cameras, dude. I'll put a camera on the grave. In fact, Apostle Taylor, are you still down with that? Or don't you have the faith to do that? You should hit me up, Apostle Taylor. I'm dead serious about this. I'm calling you out like Elijah did. The only difference is I would simply publicize the end of your ministry. Elijah went and killed people. I mean, he was like, he's like, slaying people with this sword. Look, I'm not saying that, buddy. Don't take me that literally, please. Maybe when you're out of business and stuff, we can have wings. The Assemblies of God, horrified by the antics of A. Allen, whose dogmatic and undocumented claims included, of course, he could raise people from the dead. He went so far as to launch a Raise the Dead campaign. Just looking for dead people. That's all it's got to be. Just looking for some dead people. Saying, look, give me a dead. Bring out your dead. That's what it is. It's bring out your dead time. Oh. Thankfully, the campaign died when his disciples refused to bury their departed, and their departed refused to come back from the dead. That's the kicker. That's the kicker, It's easy to claim that you brought people back from the dead. I say, well, I was in India, and I was doing a massive revival. And there's somebody in a small village, and they don't have any internet. No phones. They talk to each other with smoke signals. And I performed tons of miracles. You wouldn't even believe it. It was amazing. But they weren't coming back. It's kind of like Mother God. That chick. That internet phenom, Mother God. She claimed to be the Lord. Claimed to be God. And she died. And so Mother God died. Her her supporters kept her and tried kind of doing like a mummification kind of thing happening. Didn't work out. Got pretty nasty. People ended up getting in big trouble because there's a dead body in the house for a couple weeks and there were children in the house. I highly doubt these people waited 2 weeks. Allen's Miracle magazine chronicled the cure of a, quote, fat sister. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in this for all the sisters, for all the fat sisters out there. Look, we're all interested, aren't we? I mean, let's be real. We're all interested. There's a reason. We are part of this statistic that says it's a good idea to put those magazines with Nostradamus and fat loss and stardom and celebrity and scandal near the checkout lane at the grocery store. Have you ever peeked? Do you ever look? Would you pick it up if you saw Miracle magazine? I would. I'd pick it up. The magazine's editor added a note that read, "This lady's body could be seen shrinking visibly as she sat in the service," talking about a 200-pound woman. She was using God's reducing plan. So she wasn't even like, okay, so we're doing Fat Shame to Fitness, hashtag Fat Shame to Fitness over on Telegram. And we're doing that. And that's one of those things, eat when you're hungry, only eat till you're full. And kind of a way down thing. And you say, we've baptized it, we've transformed it. But it's essentially the same idea. It's common sense. And we call that, we say, well, yeah, it's God made certain signals that say, I'm hungry, I need food. Or God gave you signals that say, I'm full, I don't need anymore. And you have that interplay that goes back and forth. And if you follow that and you say, well, this is how my body is designed, then that would seem to be God's plan. But what was this one? Oh, this one was even easier. You just sit there and listen to him. You absorb it. And as you absorb it, all of a sudden the fat just starts melting off. Sisters. Look at me now. Look at me now. I am not an actor. Before I met Jack Coe, or A.A. Allen, before I met him, I was really fat. Everybody made fun of me. I was the ugliest person in school, and none of the clothes ever fit. But now that I'm sitting in the pew during his services at revivals, you can feel the fat come off, and I've never felt better. Oh, man. Great diet plan. How easy is it? It's really that easy. Really that easy. Apparently, Allen was excommunicated by Pentecostal leaders, but he's extolled. And why is that? Anybody who watches the show knows the reason why. It is because there's no such thing in Protestant land. Excommunication. What does it matter? What do you do? Good for you. That's a fancy word you have for you're not in our club. I don't mean to be rude, but that's the most effective thing in your ecclesiology. Where's your authority from? It's immediate. Okay, well, that's what that guy says. He disagrees with you, including these folks here. They claimed immediate. They claimed sola scriptura. They got special insights because they believe that what they're doing is an operation that's taking place that is, in fact, described. They believe they're living this out. William Marion Branham, 1909 to 1965. One of the most revered leaders of today's Counterfeit Revival is William Branham, despite the fact that Branham denied such essential Christian doctrines as the Trinity. The Dictionary of Christianity in America acknowledges that, quote, the post-World War II healing revival in Pentecostalism began in the ministry of William Branham. Yeah. So that's where, so the idea that where did it begin? Where did this whole idea, healing revival, Pentecostalism, ministry after World War II? William Branham. I just realized something. What the heck? How long has that been? How long has that been going on? I just realized something. Everybody's like, dude, what's happening? It's all black. I have no idea. I don't know how that happened all of a sudden. I have no clue how it went that way. But I just realized I totally skipped over the end of A. Allen. Forgive me, I'll wrap it up real quick. He ended up getting in trouble for all sorts of things. Said that he believed that oil was coming out of people's hands. From the heads and the hands. It was flowing, miracle oil. And people will use this to mock and ridicule, and yet we believe in stuff, blessed oils and blessed water. We believe in stuff like that, holy water, things that are set apart. He tried to sanitize his sleight of hand by quoting Hebrews 1:9, thou hast loved righteousness and hated iniquity. Therefore God, even thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. But do you see the hermeneutic? That oil that he was pitching plays into that as the oil of gladness. That's part of that. And they would say, well, yeah, we're just secondary. You know, God uses us as vessels. I mean, yeah, God's going to anoint us with the oil. But they could say, and they might, that, well, if we say it's immediate and that the oil of gladness, right, is upon us in that way, if that's what you believe in, it's immediate, maybe there's manifestations. That's what we're saying. We're laughing and having, wild manifestations. But if we say that it's actually through some kind of a medium, and we say, well, yeah, blessed oil or whatever, holy oil or holy water, all of a sudden you're coming against us on that. Pick your poison. They could say that. But he got busted for drunk driving. He got busted for drunk driving. And it got worse. It got worse. Because the leaders of the Assemblies of God, they excommunicated him, right? So we're back on track. We're back on track. They excommunicated him. Doesn't mean anything, but they did. But they did. And when they excommunicated him, they said, you got to get out of public ministry, bro. And he said, no, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And they said, well, then what really happened, man? What really happened? Because he wasn't just drunk. He wasn't just drunk, right? So come to find out what he told an associate later was that he had been kidnapped. He had been kidnapped and he'd been knocked unconscious. And when he awoke, he was in a smoke-filled room and somebody was pouring liquor down his throat. That's what he said happened. That's what he said happened. Do you believe it? What are the odds, man? And then he got in the car. You can still blame him for that. Say, look, yes, you were traumatized. I get it. You were traumatized. You were kidnapped. Okay? You woke up and people are pouring liquor down your throat. They're pouring tequila down your throat, for crying out loud. They're pouring tequila. Probably pouring that. What's that cinnamon one? Is it Aftershock? Probably pouring Aftershock. Probably pouring some Boone's Farm, and it was really upsetting. The Boone's Farm, he's like, ugh. Liquor down his throat, and a smoke-filled room. Probably tobacco. Probably he was smoking cigars, pouring booze down his throat. Sounds legit. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? Branham. On May 7th, 1946, while the prophet Branham was still only a humble, if mystical, game warden, but 200-pound angel with shoulder-length hair and dark complexion appeared to him in a secret cave. Wow. In a secret cave. And yeah, Fireball, 1984, sheepdog, fireball down the gullet. That's what it is. That's what it is. 200-pound angel. That bugger was huge. That bugger came rolling in, and he said, meet me in a secret cave. The details they left out were that there was the way that he found out about it. I mean, you got to find out. There was a letter that was put through one of the little slats, right? One of the little things there in the locker, in the changing room, and they tucked it in there. When he opened it up, it was specially folded, like in the 90s and 80s when there was a special way to fold it with a little tab. You pull it open, and it says, like, pull here with a little arrow and a smiley face, and you pull the little tab and undo it, and it transforms from a little square with a tab to all of a sudden the full page. That's how the angel did it. It's in the book. It's in the book. The angel said this: "Fear not, I am sent from the presence of Almighty God to tell you your peculiar life and your misunderstood ways have been to indicate that God has sent you to take a gift of divine healing to the people of the world." The stupid sounding angel. That's the worst angel. Dude, hey guys, put a marker on 53 minutes, 24 seconds, and we're going to scratch that. We're retiring it. Put a stamp on there that we need to make a video and play taps when we retire it. That voice. Never again. Never. But there was a big, it's contingent. It's contingent. And what's it contingent upon? If you will be sincere and can get the people to believe you, nothing shall stand before your prayer, not even cancer. So apparently, he was given a cue, some kind of magical insight that was able to inform him when the angel was nearby. Vibrations in his left hand. Sounds legit. I mean, it couldn't be anything other than that. It's the only reason anyone has vibrations in their left hand. I have vibrations in my left hand. I don't know if you know that. Yeah. Doctors say it's because I had an injury, and there's like nerve injuries and stuff. They kind of go with that arm and shoulder, and they're complex of muscles and stuff. But that's what they say. They're trying to take away the power. They're trying to take away the power. If I was like a non-Catholic show, I'd probably drop, some joke about like Michael J. Fox or something. But I'm not going to do that. It's like one of those things though, your mind kind of goes there. And it's sad because that's actually a really sad situation on multiple levels. But what did he say? It's been a chosen instrument of healing. A chosen instrument of healing. Apparently, people in the comments say, oh, it sounds like a nerve disorder. Yeah. Paresthesia? Something like that. Yeah, it could be. Or it could be a magical thing happening where it's a green glow around a guy's hand to say that an angel's there and a miracle is about to happen. You never know. Odds are about the same. Odds are about the same. Through these vibrations, Branham would be able to detect and diagnose all manner of diseases in his devotees. When the demon of a disease came into contact with his vibrating hand, the physical commotion would be so dramatic that it would stop his wristwatch instantly. Can you imagine the movie? Like a movie made by an adherent. This guy started his own cult. Started his own religion, essentially. His own offshoot. At this point, we're really talking offshoots of offshoots of offshoots of offshoots. The angel also told Branham that he would be able to disclose details of the lives of devotees through the word of knowledge. So he's like, look, I'm going to tell you their dirty, dark secrets. You're going to have to tell them to their face. Imagine when you're wrong, Imagine if a cold read gone wrong. Like really, you're out there and you're like giving somebody this word of knowledge and it's like wicked bad. Think about it. What do you do? Can't blame me. Can you blame the angel? Was the angel tricking you? It throws like this weird stick in the mud, like a stick, in the spokes. Messes stuff up a little. Makes it a little murky when you throw an angel in there. Yeah. The gift was to make Branham not just a healer. So they're like, look, you're not just going to be somebody that is just, throwing out healings left and right. Miracles left and right. Oh, no. No. You are going to be able to read the very hearts of men, the very thoughts of men. People said later, well, apparently the angel told him that he's going to be a seer, as were the Old Testament prophets, end quote. He's the new Jeremiah, he's the new Elijah, a new Isaiah. Brother Bosworth. Real quick aside, and I'm so sorry for this. I never do asides and rabbit trails. I try to stay on track. But, the idea of Brother Bannister. I actually missed that. Brother Jeremiah. Yeah. It's like one of those little traditions, right? The way people just speak to each other, refer to each other. Brother. Sister Pat. That's my grandma. Sister Marchie for people who really know. Now, apparently, Brother Bosworth pointed out that for Branham to exercise his gift, he was dependent on the presence of an angel. He doesn't even begin to pray for healing until he's conscious of the presence of the angel with him on the platform. And this is where we get into orbs, because how would you know that? Magical orbs present. The magical green orb. Now, this is one of those things for a long time. There's been a tremendous mystery. And I said in the title that there were certain things revealed, and we're going to reveal them right now. So this is one of those things you need to let people know right now. You need to share it on Twitter, because this is information they probably have not gotten. This is information that they need. People have been waiting for. It's only now starting to work its way up through channels. You will begin to see this. I'm certain of it. You're going to see it spread like wildfire soon enough. You got to let everybody know right now. Yell to the nearest person near you. Say, come over here right now. Listen to this. This is big. Those magical orbs that people talking about ghosts on TV, those magical orbs are just angels that want to do miracles. This whole time, people have been thinking they're like ghosts or dead spirits or something. Maybe even demons. There's some lady in York, Pennsylvania. She got this, a weird house. She says it's haunted and terrible, terrible demons, right? Coming and scratching and all sorts of terrible things. But she looks every day. She looks through the door. They have a stairwell. She peeks through the door. She looks up like this. She kind of peeks up like that. She puts up her phone to see if there are any magic orbs. Because if she finds magic orbs in the video, she knows that means she's supposed to sleep downstairs. There's never any unpacking of what that means or how she knows that, but enough is enough. The orbs are angels, folks. It's over. Settled. The angel also, okay, well, apparently crowds began to dwindle. The angel wasn't enough because you can't see him. The orbs weren't enough. I don't know if people couldn't see it or what, whatnot. You'd think if you saw a real green glowing orb around a guy's hand, you say, oh, dude, that's the Green Lantern. That's God's Green Lantern. I mean, he would be all over the place. So it was obviously something that really most people couldn't see. I mean, maybe there's like 10 people or dozens. Let's grant that. In charity, we will grant that dozens of people claim to have seen it. Branham announced that he would abandon his ability to read the very thoughts of men's heart and return to the healing ministry because apparently things were getting pretty rough. So he's like, look, I gotta get back to my roots, folks. That's just something you gotta do sometimes. You gotta get back to just healing people of diseases and restoring bodily limbs and eyeballs and stuff. You can't just read people's minds all the time. To prepare people for his magical powers, he resorted to telling them anecdotal stories of his healing heroics in days gone by. In 1963, Branham revealed that he had come in the spirit of Elijah. So now we're to the point where Branham is now saying he's claiming a mantle for himself. Eschatological purpose. To warn people to flee, quote, their dead churches and denominations and pledge their loyalty to the prophet of the last days. And who's that? Well, me. Obviously. Have you ever met somebody that said that? They talk to you and they're like, look, truth is, denominations, they are wicked, bad, demonic, terrible demonic spirit, satanic schism, left and right. It's dividing the church all over the place. And you're like, oh, dude, I totally agree with you. I'm like, oh, 100%. And they're like, yes. And instead, they need to submit to the prophet of the end times. What? Wait, hold up. Hey. And he's like, that's me. It seems a little self-interested. Did somebody prophesy that? Or is it revealed to you? Is there any way we can validate that? Oh, the miracles. Which ones? Oh, the ones in India. Oh, the ones in Pakistan. Oh, the ones in places that don't exist anymore. I heard Australia isn't real. Or maybe it changed. Yeah. As Paul was the apostle to the church of Ephesus, he'd come to fancy himself as the angel to the end time church of Laodicea. He proclaimed that by, quote, 1977, all denominations would be consumed by the World Council of Churches under the control of what? Of what? Has this happened yet? 1977. Write it down, guys. We got to keep track. Keep track. Okay. So he was wrong about that. But okay. Under the control of what? Dun, dun, dun. The Roman Catholics. Well, that the rapture would take place and that the world would be destroyed. Well, the verdict's out. Verdict's still out. Right? Is it one of those things? Can you imagine? Imagine being the dummy that puts those timestamps on stuff. By this exact year? No, yeah. Okay. Nah. Branham's failed prophecies were only exceeded by his false doctrines. His dogmatic, quote, serpent's seed doctrine held that Eve had some relations, okay? Some relations, just saying, with the devil. That's the idea. So Branham came out with the idea. He said, look, folks. The truth is, Eve, the seed, the whole talk about the seed and the enmity between your seed and his, all of that is because Eve was seduced by Lucifer. And not to sin, just to sin, but procreate. Making a baby. That's what he said. Eve sinned. Okay. So here is the Dictionary of Pentecostal and Charismatic Movements. Here is the summary of Branham's new revelation, his new position. Branham was adamant in his denial. Here's the summary. Eve's sin involved sexual relations with the serpent. Some humans are descended from the serpent's seed and are destined to hell, which is not eternal, however. So we're already in the land of some pretty messed up junk. Some pretty messed up, weird nonsense already. It really is a wigwam of nonsense. Really is a wigwam. Destined for hell, not eternal, however. The seed of God, i.e., those who receive what? Was it baptism? Sacraments? Part of the covenant? Or was it the Lord? No. Instead, it was those who receive Branham's teaching. Wow, that's fancy. So those who receive his teaching, right, these are predestined to become the bride of Christ. Wow, all 6 of you. All 6 of you. This is the thing about the restorationists, isn't it? That it makes God a joke. If the whole purpose of all creation can be boiled down to the 6 people in, Hobunk County, nowhere, USA, then it's open to the possibility, they'd have to leave it open to the possibility that it's 6 people over somewhere in, Madagascar, people over in Taiwan. Maybe like, I don't know, and like a long time ago, or in the future. You'd never know unless you're one of those 6 people. Did any of you ever know the Branhamites? I mean, did you guys even know? I don't think so. I don't think so. There are still others who possess free will and who may be saved out of denominational churches, but they must suffer through the Great Tribulation. He considered denominationalism a mark of the beast. So, it was a mark, not the. It was a mark of the beast. He was adamant in his denial of the Trinity. In fact, he attributes the death of his wife and baby in 1937 to God's judgment of his failure to conduct revivals in oneness Pentecostal churches. He began to insist that, quote, believers baptized by a Trinitarian formula must be rebaptized in the name of Jesus only. Now, the thing is, these teachings cultivated, according to Michael Moriarty, which I think is a true point, cultivated the likes of the Latter Rain movement, the Manifest Sons of God, but also paved the way to false predictions, revelatory madness, doctrinal heresies, and a cultic following that treated his sermons as oral scripture. Talking about Branham. In 1965, he was killed in a head-on collision. Drunk driver. Friends who believed him to be, quote, God, born of a virgin, thought he, quote, would rise from the dead. Problem is, still in the grave. His message of end-time restorationism, sadly, is not. I don't think it ever will be. I think it's one of those things that, the very nature of the claim, the very nature of it all, it's inevitable, I believe. Practically. You're going to have somebody, there's going to be some person out there that goes, the biggest group out there, that group's got it wrong. Or all the other groups out there, they got it wrong on some point. Or, you know what? I feel that God's calling me to this specific thing. They're going to have it. Lastly, last one. Jack Coe. Have any of you ever heard of Jack Coe? Do you know much about him? 1919 to 1957. Jack Coe was an ordained minister in the Assemblies of God. Coe was arguably even more extreme in his preaching and practice than either Allen or Branham. Coe on occasion would actually, quote, pick people up out of wheelchairs, and if they fell, he'd say you didn't have faith. Those antics resurface from time to time. They do. Those things, they reemerge every now and again. Who's the guy that made the claim? We're going to be talking about him. We're going to be talking about another pastor who was supposedly an apostle. An amazing mantle of end times is going to be upon him. Prophecy and miracles. All sorts of amazing power. And he's like, whoa, dog, this is dope. He does not have the power. He does not have the power. And it was only, a matter of weeks before the people who imparted the power came to eat some of their words. And it's been on damage control ever since. They're working on it. We'll talk about that. About people who say God told them to kick somebody. Kick that old lady in the face. You know, and we're not talking Smith Wigglesworth or anything. We're talking like a dude who says, oh yeah, I've been praying over this lady, speaking in tongues, and she's not, you know, being cured. I'm not seeing the healing. I'm not seeing the miracle. Lord, what's holding it back? And interestingly enough, unlike Jacko, it wasn't that it was the woman's fault. No. Now, this evangelist that I'm talking about, that we'll talk about in the future, may in other instances blame people for not being healed. But in this particular instance, he says the reason she wasn't healed was because he didn't just, you know, put his size 12 boot across her face. You know, come down with an elbow onto some autistic kid or something. Body slamming kids in wheelchairs. Can you just imagine it? Do I know who Jan Markle is? The name familiar. More details. So here's the thing. Ministers of the Church of Christ openly challenged him to produce documentation for his boast of miraculous healing. One critic wrote, quote, and I want you to think about this. Have you ever noticed that the claim is always made concerning an inward goiter or some trouble that is not outwardly apparent, or some trouble that people usually recover from naturally? No glass eyes or cork legs are ever replaced. I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And here's the thing I want to say flat out. I believe in miracles like that. I believe that we can pray for each other. I believe that God does miracles like that, especially in times of tremendous tumult, that those people who are remaining faithful, you are going to see sometimes remarkable things, and you're going to definitely see them when people start coming back. Any great awakening, anytime that's happened, right? Anytime that's ever happened, whether Catholic, it doesn't matter. Anytime where civilization got wicked bad, you have your burst and your bubbles and they implode. They pop. Things go good, things go bad. There's an ebb and a flow. That's the way history goes. But I believe in this stuff. I believe that people, that it's not just a direct miracle, like that people pray and it's a direct miracle. I believe people praying. We have examples of saints that pray over people and that they're healed. I believe in that. Look, I'm unquestionably the most charismatic guy on this channel. There's not even a question. And yet I look at this kind of thing and I say, man, there's something about it when you're going around making the claim that you are a conduit of healing power. Now, if you wanted to say, look, guys, the truth is, I am only being used for whatever reason. God is only using me for healing stuff like shingles. If that was true and you could prove that shingles or, you know, you got some kind of, you know, something inside. You got something inside that normally can't be seen. I've seen people where they talk about, you know, that they have a replaced knee or their different bones have been replaced and it's metal and they've got screws and you can feel the screws on there and you go down and feel it. And oh, I don't feel them anymore. Well, look, why are you doing it based on that? Why don't we go back and find out from that guy and say, look, did you have an x-ray since then? Money down says he did. Is the thing glowing in your face? If they were honest, look, if God was using people to heal individuals of arthritis, who's going to complain about that? But these individuals start shooting for the stars and taking claim for themselves left and right. I even believe in services. I believe in prayer services where I You say, I don't have a problem. I don't have any problem with prayer services where people get together, they're singing songs, playing guitar, praying with each other, praying for miracles, praying for healing, spiritual, emotional, psychological, marital, financial. But you got to draw a line. And this is easy. Like modern faith healers, he suggested that those who opposed him were in danger of being struck dead by God. The Assemblies of God, in fact, was really embarrassed by this, to its credit. In fact, this happens a lot, where the people who push the boundaries like that far, they go really hardcore in that direction. A lot of times, to their merit, even the groups that are now more mainstream, like Assemblies of God, Church of God, that are still fringy, but still like they're familiar, that sort of thing, that they won't tolerate it much anymore. But these groups just figured out, we're in America, homie. You start your own denomination, who cares? You don't even have to be stuck with Rhema anymore. You could just make up your own. They expelled him. 1953. They said he was misleading the public. It's a curious thing. He lobbied to rid the denomination of the disease of faithlessness and to, quote, remove the men from office who are fighting divine healing and the deliverance ministry. I wanted to stop for a second. That is similar to kind of what's going on. Like there's an element of that that's okay. Even for us, we say, look, are there people that you know who, because of their presuppositions, where they're anti-supernatural, they're naturalistic people. They've given up on a supernaturalistic worldview. Their world is not enchanted. It's the opposite of it. Right? And the idea that those people are opposed to healing, that they're opposed to miracles, that they're opposed to apparitions, that they're opposed to private revelations, inherent, like flat out. That sort of a thing. And we have people who recognize that as a real problem in a world that's just letting go and leaving that enchanted world of the past and of tradition, leaving that world behind. It's a concern I think we actually can share in a way. And remember, I said in the beginning that these people, that these particular individuals, that their world is porous. The exchange between the supernatural and the natural is constant, right? A very enchanted world. But these people are also against deliverance. I know individuals who would say, well, Jeremiah, are you against deliverance? Definitionally, no, obviously. Yes, I am. I'm against deliverance. I don't want to see you delivered. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? What a branding trick, by the way. It's a good one. It's a good one. If you oppose it, you're against deliverance. Come on, man. You know, but I can be critical of certain things, but it depends on what you mean. It depends on what you mean. He warned his followers that the day would come when those who consulted physicians would have to take the mark of the beast. And this is one of those things I want to throw out there as just kind of a fun thing to think about, is that you have situations where, you know, Pentecostals and people on the hard, kind of the fringy side of things when it comes, conservative fringy side of things, when it comes to religion, okay? When it comes to religion, they have certain predictions. And that certain predictions, you know, about the way the world goes, and they've been wrong. And I pointed out repeatedly how people who believe that the world is falling down, that this is the mark of the beast, or this person is the Antichrist, that they have been wrong over and over and over. And technically, they're batting 0. However, in fairness, there are situations like this where you have people who will say things like, well, if you want to consult a physician, you'd have to take the mark of the beast. Do you see the development of that as it goes along? Do you see the development of that within the era of, that thing, the pokey dokey? And saying you're going to need to get it, or the people who claimed that WWW stood for Vav, Vav, Vav. Have you ever heard of that? That's a letter, Hebrew alphabet. That, yeah. So the idea that it's numerically 6. Numerically 6. W, 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 or V, V, V. And what is it? 666. World Wide Web is 666. How many people now would say things like, well, the internet, man. The internet seems like it's like the Panopticon. It's like the beast, dude. You need this or you can't buy. You need this or you can't sell. Constantly manipulating, constantly controlling, constantly monitoring, constantly influencing. Vav, Vav, Vav. Now, were they right? Is the verdict still out? At the time it was a joke. It was a funny joke. Same thing with a lot of that. There's a lot of things that sometimes I think that predictions are just, that like you can see the way that things play out in time and you can make predictions. You don't always have to be prophetic in order to make reliable predictions. You can see, do one of these things, right? You can do that. You can see the signs of the times, that sort of thing. You can make predictions based on that. Right, but yet so often it's like they kill themselves with specificity, strangely enough, with specificity when they don't need it, and with ambiguity and general statements when they need specificity. When Coe became critically ill with bulbar polio, he himself took the mark of the beast. He was admitted to the hospital. As his condition worsened, a faithful devotee wrote, quote, "We know that God can and will deliver him." Nevertheless, Coe died. It reminded me of the Source family, if I'm remembering correctly. The Source family. So, I've told it before. The idea of the man, real tall guy with an interesting voice, deep voice. Played crazy music. His church out in California. And ended up, I think, went down to Hawaii with his cult. They believed he was God. They believed he was divine. He was Father God. So he ends up going out on a hang glider. Woo! Falls down. Hits the ground. When he hits the ground, all crumpled up, his spine is completely messed up. He's all sorts of hurt. All sorts torn up. And what is he saying? Beyond that. Beyond that. Oh, that was that idea. Beyond that. I think maybe I should go to the hospital. What did his supporters say? No, man, you're good, dude. No. You told us that if you ever said that was a test. And he's like, oh, what? Oh. And he's remembering all those times. He's remembering every instance when he said that. And he's hating himself. He died right there. They carried his broken bones up to a house. No, please. Call a chopper. No, you're going to be good. You're going to be fine. He was quickly realizing, however, that was not true. He quickly came to accept it. It didn't matter if he did or not, because reality accepted it. Healing revivalist O.L. Jaggers claimed that for the first time in 1900 years, quote, an exact formula has been given as to how to attain physical immortality in this world. The exact formula. And we're going to end on this. I don't know if there's any better way to end than talking about the exact formula to be able to live forever. The exact recipe. Where did he find this? Did he have some treasure map? Where did he dig this thing up? Did an angel give it to him? How does he know that this is the exact formula? How does he know? How does he know? Well, he called Juanita, Coe's widow. He calls Juanita and he said, quote, I'd come and raise him from the dead. I'd come and raise your husband from the dead. If you would only request my assistance, I'd go over there in a heartbeat, tell you what. I'd go ahead and I'd raise him from the grave. Except he didn't. But not because he didn't want to. Not because he didn't offer. Instead, the reason was because the wife, Juanita, had different plans. She published a devastating series of articles titled Enemies of the Cross. The articles, penned by a prominent insider named Granville Montgomery, exposed the fraudulent exaggerations and financial excesses of healing restorationists. They didn't like that. Any more than Benny Hinn's nephew coming out doing that. I want to interview him, by the way. I want to bring him on the show and talk to him. We're going to bring on people from all different walks because I want you to understand what people really believe. I want you to hear it from people who either believe or had believed those things to say, this is what they believe. That way, you're never going to get run around talking to people about the truth of the Catholic worldview, the truth of the gospel. You're never going to be run around. Never. I hope you love that about this show, by the way. We got you covered. They did not like that. They did not like that. Okay. Apparently this Granville Montgomery documented the deceit of claiming 3 million converts in Jamaica when the entire population of the island was far less than 2 million. He bemoaned the manipulation of men who hawked dirt from the Holy Land and pieces of cloth from Jack Coe's revival tent as a means to make merchandise of God's people. Let me say, I don't know how I feel about that. Now, okay, obviously the healing of 3 million people in a place where it's less than 2 million altogether, that's obviously phony baloney. But the idea of dirt from the Holy Land, the idea of clothing from someone, we believe in relics. We have classes of them. It affects what we do at the altar, by the way. Right? There are things that I have to know when we have relics out there, special ones, that are out there that I have to know as a thurifer when I'm helping the priest, the celebrant. We're going around. There's a different way that I have to do certain things. And do we sell it? We sell it. We sell things like that. People buy things like that. They buy chaplets or rosaries or whatever. So part of these criticisms sometimes, again, are it's strangely enough from a worldview that strangely enough is because it's not as enchanted, it's more naturalistic. It's a more naturalistic worldview. What's up, MK Vine? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Is it Shamunian? How'd you pronounce it? No, that's the end of that. That's the end of that. Okay, no. This is the end. Spiritual manipulation had overpowered spiritual manifestations. Money had been exalted over ministry, and scandal was more common than salvation. The wave that had restored the supernatural sign gifts to one segment of the body of Christ had begun to fizzle. So you see this again. You see this sort of thing happen. I actually think that's okay. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that revival is an ongoing thing. That it's just like all the time. You go through seasons. This wave was destined to mainstream Pentecostal distinctives, such as tongues, healing, and deliverance throughout the entire Christian church A new and improved Pentecost, known as the Charismatic Renewal, was about to emerge. So next time we're going to talk about end-time restoration of charismatic unity. We're going to talk about that. We got a whole bunch of extra stuff coming up. But I'm already over my time. I am already over my time. We're going to go anyway. Let's see.
I wanted to.
No. Why is it showing that? Hold on. I got to go to studio mode. I got to go to ending. Got to go to that. Studio mode. Now we can do it. Check it out. Now it works. I'm grateful for all of you. Oh, I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful, in fact, that I'm going to go immediately, right now. We're going to go, as soon as this is over, we're going to go over to, it's 10:45, Thursday, February 9th. We're going to go right now over to Telegram. Open it up. If there's anybody right now that is an admin for our Telegram chat, in the link in the description below, you got to join us. Why wouldn't you? We're going to continue our discussion. I'd love to hear your stories. I want to hear about the different experiences you had and the people you know and the kind of arguments that you've heard. We're gonna pool our thoughts together on this because we need to present to the world now more than ever the most robust demonstration and presentation of the Catholic faith maybe the world's ever known. That's because we're in crazy times. We're in a post-Christian world. It's different. Every time is different, and God made us for this time. And that's the one thing that's excellent about it. Well, there's many things, but one thing is that we are suited for this. We are situated for this. It's like certain animals with their food or their habitation. In that way, you were situated and designed and called and placed and hurled in a direction on purpose by God with a great intention. And your job is powerful. You are going to do amazing things, and you're not going to have to do it alone. Do not be in despair. Do not allow the weight of the world to wear you down, because you don't need to carry it in the first place. What's wrong with you? Throw it on him. He's the King of Kings. All power and authority his. I'll see you over on Telegram. Link in description below. Until next time, never give up. Keep on smiling. And memento mori.
I wanted to make people dream bigger thoughts.